Ski. Okay. So I don't know. I'm very bored again. All I wanted to say was like I'm writing a short story or whatever, so I was gonna like read it because a lot of people like it. So oh no, yeet. So you're gonna see. Alright, I'm gonna start it now. Judge me. Oh, by the way, I just want to say this. I'm gonna be stuttering a lot, messing up words because like I suck at speaking. So like, get triggered. Anyways, here we go. Practically jumping out of my skin as I sat up in bed, still hearing the high-pitched screams. I was drenched in sweat. My eyes were blurry, so I quickly rubbed them. I hopped out of my bed, struggling with the covers wrapped around me. The screams were replaced by a repeated banging. After freeing myself from the sheets, I ran to my door. I opened it nervously, poked my head out. I will never forget what I saw. My father was slamming my mother's head onto the kitchen table. She regained consciousness for a few seconds, long enough for her to mouth, "I love you, run." I did exactly what she told me. I shut the door and locked it. Too loud, I thought. I was right. I heard my father's loud voice shouting nonsensical words at me, his heavy footsteps practically shaking the house. My eyes were wide with fright, and I froze, trying to figure out what to do. My father's loud bangs on my door made me spring into action. I grabbed my black hoodie, my knife, and a $20 bill. At this point, the banging on my door had become so violent I feared he would break it. I had no time to grab anything else, so I slipped on my shoes and forced my window open. To my horror, I could hear a loud my I could hear my wood door starting to break. I said a quick goodbye to my house and jumped out of the window. It was about 3 feet off the ground, so the fall didn't hurt. I quickly regained my composure and started sprinting down the street. About halfway down the street, I heard the loud crack of my door breaking. I looked back and saw my father's horrid face in my window. I expected him to yell or chase me, but he just turned around and walked through my room. This was the last time I saw him. Sometimes I wish I had done something sooner to help my mother, but I can't look back now. Just keep moving ahead. After I made it down the street, I turned right. Not knowing where I was going, I continued to run until my legs felt like they were about to fall off. It was pitch black except for street lights and car lights. I was so tired I could barely stand, so I ducked behind a park bench, and before I knew it, I was asleep. My sleep was plagued with nightmares, but before we move on, I must introduce myself. I am a 14-year-old male. I have blue eyes and short black hair, just like my father. I am 5'5" with an athletic build. Not to be full of myself, but I am decently handsome. Back to my nightmares. They were strange. It was a perfect day. Nothing was going wrong. I went outside to play with my dog, but I couldn't find her. I had looked everywhere when I heard a slight whimper. I looked behind me, ecstatic when I saw my dog's face. Something was wrong. She wasn't moving, and her eyes were closed. I couldn't see her body. She was behind a trash can. I moved over to get a full view of her. What I saw almost made me shit my pants. Same, bro. It was crouched down over my dog. It looked tall. It had gray skin and no hair. Its ears were shaped like Elle's ears. It had long fingers and sharp-pointed teeth. I can still hear the disgusting noises of it eating my dog's entrails. I didn't know what to do. I stepped back, but as I did, I heard the loud crack of a twig break. Just my luck. Its ear twitched in my direction. I watched in horror as it turned its ugly, blood-soaked face towards me, my dog's entrails still in its hands. I turned to bolt and heard its blood-curdling scream. I only made a few steps when I felt its teeth stabbing into my neck. My own screams filled my ears as my vision turned black. That's when I woke up. It looked about afternoon when I woke up. The bench I was sleeping behind now had a homeless man on it. I stood up and took a look around. I must have been only about 5 miles from my house. The park was empty except for us. The streets were surprisingly busy. I noticed a gas station at the corner and felt my throat clench up with dryness. I found my 20 and started walking towards it. As I approached the door of the station, a lady and her child were headed out, so I held the door over them. The woman gave me a weird look, a mix of pity and disgust. She drew her child close to her and rushed through the door. Before I went inside, I did a quick once-over of myself. Nothing looked off, so what made her look at me like that? I shrugged off the incident and entered the station. The cashier looked at me, visibly annoyed. I ignored it. I ignored it and went to pick out a drink and some snacks. As I settled on water and some chips, I made my way to the counter. The cashier's eyes still boring into me. He started checking my items out, but he was still staring at me. He gave me my amount owed, and I gave him my 20. When I got my change, I turned to the door and started walking when I heard the cashier's gruff voice. "Boy, I don't want to see you back here scaring off my customers." I don't know why I did that voice, don't judge me. I stayed silent and exited the station, not sure what to say to him. My confusion about the situation took over my mind. I didn't notice someone shouting my name. "Damien!" My eyes focused, and I looked around for who was calling my name. To my right, I saw a black truck pull up in front of me. As it got closer, I made out the swollen and bruised face of my mother. As soon as the truck stopped, I ran to the door and hugged her through the window. I felt tears of happiness streamed down my face. After that night, I wasn't sure if she was still alive. I released her from my arms and saw her tears on her face, too. She told me to jump in the passenger side. I ran to the other side of the truck and jumped in. She started driving in a direction unknown to me. I was unsure what to do next. No music was on, and she didn't seem to want to talk, so I just quietly observed her. She had her long brown hair pulled into a messy bun. Her right eye was almost swollen shut. There was a 3-inch laceration along her right cheekbone. Her face was bruised. I felt weird staring at her, so I glanced around the truck. The inside of the truck was gray. No fancy seat covers, nothing like that. The back seat was covered in random junk. I noticed an ibuprofen bottle in the cup holder. Its top was barely screwed on. I grew bored and started daydreaming. I came back to life when we pulled into an unfamiliar driveway. Where are we, Jesus Christ? I said weakly. I was on edge for seemingly no reason. My mother's house, she said. It had been at least 4 years since I'd seen Grandma D. The D stands for Delilah. She didn't approve of my father, so her and my mother had a falling out. I wasn't sure if I was happy to see her. I opened my door and exited the truck. Mom did the same. The neighborhood was clean and quiet. Small houses lined the sides of the road, with perfectly groomed gardens. I walked around the front of the truck and stopped to observe the house in front of me. It had a white porch with rose bushes tangling around the railing at the edge of the porch. "Come in," my mother said. "Come on," my mother said. Sorry. She was already halfway down the sidewalk to the house. I have like a little more, but I think I'm a little too lazy, so ski, bye. Or something like that. A potato flew around my room before you came. Excuse me.